Section 12-4, the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem states in any right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. In this triangle ABC, if it is a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we know we have a right triangle, then the Pythagorean theorem works. A squared plus b squared equals c squared if we have a right triangle. The converse is also true. The sum of the squares of the lengths of two sides of a triangle is equal to the square of the length of the third side, then the triangle is a right triangle. So in other words, if you can prove that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you know the triangle is a right triangle. So in order for us to use the converse, we will be given triangles that we know all three lengths of their sides, and we'll be trying to determine if the triangle is a right triangle or not. Now, what we will do is we will use the two smaller sides as your legs. So this is my A, this is my B. My hypotenuse is always the biggest side. Remember that, your hypotenuse is always the biggest side. So we're trying to decide if this is a right triangle or not. So if we can use the Pythagorean theorem and a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then yes, this triangle is a right triangle. So let's use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals to c squared. So a is 6 squared plus b is 8 squared. Does that equal to c, which is 10 squared? So I'm going to square the left side and square the right side, and I need to know if the left side equals the right side. Well, 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. Is equal to 10 squared is 100. Does the left side equal the right side? Well, 36 plus 64 does give you 100. So if the left side equals the right side, then yes, you have a right triangle. So the question for this problem was, is this triangle a right triangle? You use the two sides as your leg, and you use the larger side as the hypotenuse, and you run it through the Pythagorean theorem. If the left side equals the right side, then yes, they check out. And because the Pythagorean theorem does work, we can say that this triangle is a right triangle. Let's look at B part. Is triangle B a right triangle? I see that I have a triangle with sides, which are the legs 4 and 5, and the hypotenuse is 6. So 6 is C, and these two sides are my A and the B. The question is this triangle a right triangle? We're going to be using the converse. If we can prove that the sum of the squared legs is equal to the hypotenuse squared, then this is a right triangle. So 4 squared plus 5 squared, does that equal to 6 squared? That's our question. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. Does that equal to 6 squared, which is 36? Well, 16 plus 25 gives me 41. 41 does not equal to 36. 41 does not equal to 36. So therefore, no, this triangle is not a right triangle. If the two sides don't equal, then no, the triangle is not a right triangle. So the first one was yes, it was a right triangle. So this one was a yes, and B is no. Let's look at C part. Is C a right triangle? The largest side must be the C. So I have 2.5 squared plus 6 squared equals to 6.5 squared. Okay? 2.5 is a leg, 6 is a leg, and 6.5 would have to be the hypotenuse because it's the largest side. So 2.5 squared gives you 6.25 plus 6 squared is 36 equals to 6.5 squared is 42.25. Add these two terms together. When you add these two numbers together, you get 42.25. So does the left side equal the right side? If the left side equals the right side, and they do, then therefore, yes, this triangle is a right triangle. So when you use the Pythagorean theorem, the left side has to equal the right side. And if it does, then you can say that the triangle is a right triangle by using the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So C part was yes. And then let's look at triangle D. You have 4 and 7 are your legs, your A and your B, and 8 is the larger side, so therefore this is your C. So 4 squared plus 7 squared equals to 8 squared. Is this triangle a right triangle? 4 squared is 16, 7 squared is 49, equals to 8 squared, which is 64. 16 plus 49 is 65. That does not equal to 64. Since the two do not equal, then no, this triangle is not a right triangle. So for D part, our answer will be no. D is not a right triangle because the left side did not equal the right side.